You're listening to Boomers Today with your host, Frank Sampson.
Well, welcome to Boomers Today. I'm your host, Frank Sampson. Of course, each week we bring you important and useful information on issues facing baby boomers, their parents, and other loved ones. And I just want to thank everybody so much for all their support. Our podcast, and I know we're on various radio stations throughout the country as well. Our listeners are growing and growing, and the reason is because of all of you sharing our information with others, and I want to thank you for that. Many of you have listened to the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, on our free app, which you can get on your Android or Apple phone. Just go to the apps and type in Boomers Today, and you'll have it right on your phone. And when you go on your walks in the morning or your runs in the morning, you'll get some great information. And the reason that our podcast is growing is because we have wonderful guests. And today is going to be no different. It's a very important subject matter. We're going to be talking about Medicare. And we have with us Sara and Paul Finkelstein. Sara was educated on the East Coast with a degree in business management. She joined the financial arena in 1996, and her financial industry experience encompasses employment with major insurance companies and banks. In 2018, she published her first book, Wisdom for Women, which we'll learn more about. Discover the challenges you must overcome to live the life and retirement you deserve. You can get that on Amazon. And Sara is joined today by her husband, Paul. Together, they help clients reach their financial needs, goals, and dreams. So Sara and Paul, thank you so much for joining us on Boomers Today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you so much for the opportunity. We're glad to be here with you.
It's definitely great to be here with you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's glad to have you on, and we're talking about an important subject matter that's been talked about all the time, but I think it's misunderstood, and that's Medicare. So I'm going to give you a real easy one here to start with, all right? But I think our listeners, some of our listeners may not have a clear understanding what it is. So tell us, what is Medicare? I don't know, Sara, you want to start?
Sure. Medicare is the federal health insurance program for people that are 65 and older. Also covers people that are younger who may have disabilities, but it's primarily for the 65 plus age range.
So when people hear, they have, let's say, a parent or other loved one that needs care, maybe even long-term care, and that might be in assisted living or in nursing or something like that. Usually a question, and as you know, I'm in the business as well, that we get asked is, well, doesn't Medicare cover that? So why don't you talk about Medicare and Medicaid and kind of that difference?
Sure, absolutely. So yeah, you're right. A lot of people mistakenly believe that Medicare covers long-term care, but unfortunately it does not. Medicare does cover some home health care, but it has to be skilled care. So Medicare does not pay for custodial care, which are the activities of daily living that one might need help with as we get older. So it does cover up to 100 days in skilled nursing facility, but it also has to be skilled care. So that is the major difference. And long-term care can be extremely expensive, especially if somebody hasn't done the appropriate planning. And for many Americans, it could potentially wipe out their whole retirement nest egg. So that's why it's so important to plan in advance. The younger you are, the healthier you are, the better it is to start planning.
So let's talk about that. There's an enrollment process, all right, for Medicare. When should someone start to think about Medicare? Let's assume they're not someone with a disability. They're just getting to that age, right? And hopefully that benefit is available to them. So when should someone begin the enrollment process? What do you recommend?
That's a really good question, actually. If you don't mind, I chime in, and Sarah,
Sure.
you can piggyback on it. Since I know the answer to this question, actually, most people, it seems that a nice window of maybe 6 months before they turn 65 gives you some time to prepare and learn and educate. We do Medicare online workshops now through Zoom. Before the pandemic, we were actually holding workshops in person in a conference room. But we'd have 20 seniors, and I would joke with my wife and said, how old is the last person that was in our meeting? And it's like, when was the last time that you were all in class together and everybody was the same age? And of course, everybody is just about on their 65th birthday, and they've reached that milestone as well. But as another aside, do you know who the first president or the president that actually developed or came out with Medicare? It was, I believe, Roosevelt was the one that came out with the Medicare program, and there was a president that actually received their very first Medicare card.
Actually, I have to correct you there. Roosevelt created Social Security,
right?
But Medicare came under President Lyndon Johnson.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
I know we were texting each other back and forth, and there was those two presidents, but the president that actually received their very first Medicare card in the mail, I think it begins with a T. Am I correct there?
I don't know. I'm not sure on that one.
I thought it was Truman who received the very first Medicare card.
You could be correct.
Yeah.
But in answer to Frank's question, 6 months in advance is a good time. However, what we're finding is a lot of people start getting solicitations even before 6 months. They get bombarded with literature in the mail from various insurance carriers. They may get bombarded with telephone solicitations. Sometimes we hear other people tell us that they've been getting 10 phone calls a day. So they get very, very inundated. And it's confusing. A lot of them tell us how confusing and overwhelming this Medicare decision is. But it's a very important decision that they have to make, because there are different choices and options, and they need to have a clear understanding so that they are in a position to make a wise decision.
So let's talk about that. Why are they getting bombarded by so many people? If this is something that when you turn, the age of 65 and you've earned it, don't you just get it? I mean, why are they hearing from so many people, sign up with me? Why is that?
Well, because everybody wants their business at this point. All the insurance companies want their business. And it's public information. Sometimes people will ask, how do they know? Well, it's public information that you're turning 65, and every insurance carrier wants to be the one that enrolls you in a plan.
Got it. Because so that plan, so there is a cost. There's different parts to the plan, right? And so would you say that it's because of maybe the supplemental plans, pardon me, that people have an option to? That's why they're getting bombarded by different people?
Yeah, it's not just the Medicare supplement plans, which work hand in hand with original Medicare, but it's also the alternative, which is the Medicare Advantage plans. So individuals have an important decision. They're either going to go with a supplement plan or they're going to go with a Medicare Advantage plan. And it's so important for them to understand the differences.
Why don't you explain that? Yeah, explain that. Explain the difference between the supplemental
Sure.
plan and the Advantage. That'd be great.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So the supplement plan works with original Medicare. Original Medicare allows the individual to go to any Medicare provider anywhere in the nation. So think of it this way. When they have original Medicare, they're in the driver's seat. They are the ones who are deciding where they get their health care, who they get to see. There's when somebody has original Medicare, there are no networks. Basically, again, they can go to any Medicare provider. That means any doctor, any specialist, any hospital, and God forbid, any cancer treatment hospital that accepts Medicare. On the flip side, they have the option to go with a Medicare Advantage plan, which is a replacement to original Medicare. So those plans are managed care. They are network-based plans. So they're designed to use the providers in the network, and they're calendar year plans. So the plans change from one year to the next, meaning that the benefits could change, the copay structure could change, the providers could change. It's all different from one year to the next. Whereas Medicare supplement plans are standardized, they're the same, and they're the same anywhere in the nation. They're standardized. So the coverage is the same, they work the same, and frankly, the doctors don't really care which Medicare supplement plan you have because they do work the same, they do get paid the same way.
Got it. So when you hear the term Medigap, what is Medigap? Is that supplemental?
Yeah, so the terms are interchangeable. Medigap plans or Medicare supplement plans, they're the same thing.
Got it. Okay. So, it would be helpful if it's okay with you. There's different parts of Medicare, right? You got Part
Absolutely.
A, Part B, Part C, Part D. Listen, I'm sure we could talk for hours about the subject matter, but maybe you could give us a little briefing, either one of us, if you each want to take a part or whatever it is you want to do. But A, B, C, D, and anything else you want to discuss. What are the differences between these parts?
Okay, so Plan A is the hospital portion. When somebody is admitted into the hospital, it's Plan A that comes into play. And for most individuals, there is no premium for Part A because we pay into it during our working years through payroll deductions. But that doesn't mean that there's no cost attached, because there are. There's a deductible, there are daily copays for long-term hospital stays. Under Part A, there's also skilled nursing facility, some home health care, and blood, hospice care, blood as in blood transfusions. Then
Right.
Medicare Part B does have a premium attached to it. And again, some people are not aware that there's going to be a premium. They feel that they've paid into the system. So now
Right.
they're surprised that there's a cost attached, a monthly premium for Medicare Part B. But Part B covers a lot: doctor's visits, outpatient procedures, lab work, diagnostic tests, cancer treatments and chemotherapy, diabetic screenings and supplies, physical therapy, and a whole bunch more. I always simplify it by saying, think of Medicare Part B as everything that may happen outside of the hospital. And there is a premium for Medicare Part B. And some people pay an extra premium based on their income level.
Got it. Right.
And Medicare Part C is the Medicare Advantage plan, which again is an alternative to original Medicare. And then Medicare Part D, easy to remember, D for drugs. It's a standalone drug plan if you're going with original Medicare and a supplement plan, or if you're going with a Medicare Advantage plan, it's embedded into your plan, but there are copays for drugs in either case.
So on the drug plan, which is not always, but often a concern, somebody who is maybe on quite a few different prescriptions and now they're going on to Medicare and they want to make sure that they're covered, you'd be able to help them to say, hey, let's take a look at what you are prescribed and fit maybe the program that best covers all that. Is that correct? I mean, could you get to that detailed?
Absolutely. And for each zip code, there may be 20 to 30 different standalone drug plans. So when we help clients in that situation, is we start with a list of their medications, because each standalone drug plan has its own formulary list. and we need to do our research to find out which is the most appropriate plan for them.
Great. So what about, let me just take a quick, we're going to do, we got just a second in between my next question here, and we're just going to take just a real quick break and recognize our sponsor, and then we'll come back, and I want to talk about, kind of get an idea of premiums. If I know that's a tough one, but give us a feel for it. But anyway, we'll come back and we'll talk about that. And I want to just let everybody know and remind everybody that today's show is sponsored by Senior Care Authority, an elder care consulting organization that has a national network of professionally trained and experienced local advisors to assist families in determining the right path for your loved ones. They'll discuss various long-term care options, whether it's in-home care, assisted living, memory care, or nursing care, or if you just need an advocate to get some advice from, a local Senior Care Authority advisor can help you now. So for a free 30-minute consultation with an advisor in your area, feel free to contact Senior Care Authority at 888-809-1231, or you could go directly to their website at www.seniorcareauthority.com, and you could find an advisor right in your area. We are back with Sara and Paul Finkelstein. We're discussing Medicare, which can be complicated to a lot of people, but they're clearing it all up for us right now. So thank you again for joining us today. So what are, and maybe this is a tough question, but maybe you could give us a feel for it. But what are the premiums that are associated with these various parts? You went through very eloquently Part A, B, C, D, and gave us a good understanding of those various parts. But what are the premiums that could be associated with it? And I know it probably varies on the person and all that, but maybe you give us a feel for it.
So there are premiums attached to Medicare supplement plans, and there are premiums attached to the standalone Part D drug plans. Let me start with the Medicare supplement plans. And the answer is, it really depends, because it depends on your zip code. Different parts of the country is totally different pricing. Give you, for instance, one couple that were living in Boca Raton, Florida, ended up moving to Tennessee. Their premiums were half the price in Tennessee that they were in Florida. So it really depends where in the country, the zip code. Also depends on age when they go on to their Medicare supplement plan. We're aware that some people work beyond age 65. They might stay on their group health insurance for another couple of years, and then they're older, so it depends on age. Also depends on the supplement plan that they select. There are different letter plans, A, B, C, D, F, G, N, K, L. All of those different plans have different premiums and different types of cost sharing. So I hate to be so vague, but there's so many variables that come into play. Also, whether or not the individual is a smoker. So there's a lot of variables, but what we do is we do a quote for the individual based on their age, their zip code, and we provide them a whole list of carriers and what they're charging. And we always stress that the Medicare supplement plans are standardized, so there's no difference between one carrier's Plan G and another carrier's Plan G. That's the beauty of original Medicare. There's nothing really to compare when somebody is looking into Medicare Advantage plans. They're all slightly different from each other, so it requires a little bit more time and thought as to which is the best one to go with.
So what about, somebody could be listening to this podcast a couple of years from now, so things could be, changed. But today we have the Affordable Care Act. Some have called it Obamacare. I call it the Affordable Care Act. That's what it was named. How does that affect Medicare?
And that's really an excellent question. Because both programs, the Obamacare and Medicare, are both government programs. If somebody is on Obamacare and they're turning 65, they can no longer stay on their Obamacare. If they qualify for Medicare, they have to go on to Medicare.
Got it. Okay, good. Great answer to that, and because that could be confusing. So one thing I'm hearing this, and as you know, I've been in the business, but I learned something new, and I learned certain things that you stated right here. But it can be very confusing. Just so people know, if they're utilizing a service like yours, and we'll share with people in just a moment how they can get a hold of you. But is there a cost to them for your service? And if not, then how do you earn your money?
Oh, another great question. So we do not charge for advising and helping seniors. The way we get paid is when we enroll a senior in a plan, then we get paid by the insurance company that we represent. So it doesn't cost them anything. And actually, it behooves people to use an agent. We're not the only agents on the planet, we realize that, but it's better to use an agent as opposed to doing it yourself, because an agent can provide so many other benefits and be there to answer questions and hold your hand and guide you along the process and provide you with so much more input than just trying to do it yourself.
All right. I that was one, you kind of took the words out of my mouth. Who's ever listening to this, don't try to do this yourself. I mean,
yes.
There's good advisors out there like the Finkelsteins and have somebody, either them or somebody like them in your area, help you through this, because you're talking to someone who is on Medicare, and it was very confusing to me, and I got an advisor to help me, and my wife both. So
Good for you.
yeah. So tell us, you're located in Florida, so maybe you could share with us how people could get a hold of you. But what happens if they're not in Florida? I mean, is it possible that you can help people through this?
Absolutely, definitely. We are licensed in multiple states, so we are able to help people across the nation. And we also do workshops. Now, of course, they're being done virtually, but
Right.
at least once a month, we do a Medicare Made Simple or Medicare Made Easy workshop where people can join in, learn from the comfort of their home. And it's a good idea to do that because they get so much literature. We make it easy to understand, simplify it, and people walk away having a much, much better understanding, and they're in a position to make a wise decision. One thing I want to bring up is there's a misconception that Medicare pays for long-term care, and it does not. And people really need to start planning for long-term care. They shouldn't wait until 65 to start planning for long-term care.
Right.
In terms of Medicare, they can't do anything until they get to that age. But in terms of long-term care planning, the younger they are, even in their 50s, is a perfect time to start planning for it, because Medicare and long-term care planning are both very important parts of retirement planning. And the sooner, the better for long-term care, because the younger you are, the healthier you are, and the more reasonable the premiums can be.
Right. So is there a website or any contact information? Feel free to go ahead and share it with our listeners.
Yes, absolutely. So the website is www.signatureadvisorygroup.com, and there's a Y at the end of advisory. We could also be reached by telephone, 561-302-5760. And we do our Medicare workshops. So call us or text us. We'll be happy to let you know the next dates that we're having it. And we're here to help.
Great. Well, I was on your website, took a quick peek, and a lot of great information there. So people should check it out. Yeah.
Thank you.
So we just have a few minutes left, and I authored a book. I know you've authored a book called Wisdom for Women. discover the challenges you must overcome to live the life and retirement you deserve. So I always like to ask other fellow authors, what was the catalyst for you writing that book? And tell us a little bit about it.
Absolutely. So the title, of course, is very, very long, but it brings the point home. And the reason that I wrote the book is because I've been in the insurance and financial industry along with Paul. We've been in for about 24 years, each of us. And I discovered that even today, where the workforce is comprised of many women, there are still women who are not actively involved in their own financial planning. Sometimes they just let either their spouse or another important person in their life deal with and handle their finances, and they really don't know what's going on. And what happens is women typically are the ones who end up alone at some point, whether through becoming a widow or through divorce. And all of a sudden now they have to understand and be on top of what's going on with their finances. So why not start earlier rather than waiting for a catastrophe to happen? Also, women typically take time out from the workforce to raise children, so they end up with a smaller Social Security check, and they have less in qualified monies, and all of this affects their financial future. So the book is available on Amazon. It's a very, very easy read. It's about 100 pages, and it breaks everything down into simple, easy to understand. There's actually a whole chapter on Medicare, and there's a whole chapter on long-term care planning. And I felt it was important to get the message out. But the book is also for men too, although it doesn't state so in the title, but most of the information in the book does apply to men as well. Great.
Well, Sara and Paul, thank you so much for joining us on Boomers Today. You're a wealth of information. I really appreciate it, and we'll have to have you back in the future because things change, as you know. So
thanks so much, Frank. And I sent you an email of the very first Medicare card from Truman in your email.
Great. No kidding. Yeah, that's great. All right.
Well, thank you so much, Frank. We appreciate it.
Thank you. And be safe out there, everybody. And we'll talk to you.
You've been listening
soon.
to Boomers Today with Frank Sampson. To learn more about today's show, visit boomerstodayradio.com and join us next time for another edition of Boomers Today.